Right now, you are reading these words on a device made of atoms that might not actually exist. Those atoms form circuits processing information that could be nothing more than shadows cast from a cosmic boundary you'll never see. The screen in front of you displays patterns of light that may represent the deepest illusion ever conceived by physics. What if everything you've ever touched, seen, or experienced is actually encoded on a two-dimensional surface at the edge of reality itself? If you're ready to question the very foundation of existence, hit that like button because what I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you thought you knew about the universe. We're diving into the holographic principle, a theory so radical it suggests our entire three-dimensional reality is nothing more than a projection from a flat cosmic screen. Picture holding a hologram in your hands. That shimmering image appears three-dimensional, yet all its information is stored on a flat surface. Now imagine that your entire life, every star in the sky, every galaxy stretching across billions of light years, exists exactly the same way. Scientists have discovered evidence suggesting our universe operates as the ultimate hologram, with all information about our reality encoded on a distant two-dimensional boundary. This isn't science fiction, this is cutting-edge physics that emerged from studying the most extreme objects in the cosmos. Black holes forced physicists to confront an impossible mathematical puzzle that led to one of the most mind-bending discoveries in scientific history. The holographic principle doesn't just change how we understand space and time, it fundamentally rewrites the rules of existence itself. But here's what makes this discovery truly terrifying. If the holographic principle proves correct, then everything you consider real might be computational processes occurring on a cosmic screen. Your memories, your thoughts, your entire conscious experience could be information patterns projected from a boundary so distant that light hasn't had time to travel from there since the universe began. I'm about to walk you through the scientific evidence that led thousands of physicists to seriously consider whether we live inside a cosmic simulation. We'll explore how black holes revealed the hidden nature of information itself. We'll examine mathematical proofs that suggest space and time are illusions, and we'll discover why some of the brightest minds in physics now believe reality operates more like a holographic movie than the solid world our senses perceive. The journey begins in the most violent regions of spacetime, where matter gets compressed beyond imagination and the normal rules of physics break down completely. Black holes create conditions so extreme they forced scientists to question whether information can ever truly be destroyed. What they discovered about information conservation led to revelations about reality that continue shocking the physics community decades later. In the 1970s, physicist Jacob Bekenstein made a calculation that should have been routine, but instead opened a door to cosmic mysteries we're still trying to understand. He wanted to determine how much information a black hole could contain. Common sense suggested that larger volumes should hold more information, just like bigger libraries contain more books. But Bekenstein's mathematics revealed something impossible. Black hole information capacity scales with surface area, not volumes. But his own calculations about black hole radiation created an even deeper puzzle. Hawking showed that black holes evaporate by emitting thermal radiation that appears to carry no information about what fell inside. This created the information paradox that has haunted physics for 50 years. If information gets destroyed when black holes evaporate, then quantum mechanics breaks down at the most fundamental level. The resolution came from taking Bekenstein's insight seriously. If black hole information is encoded on the event horizon surface, then Hawking radiation could carry that information away as the black hole evaporates. The information never gets destroyed because it was never really inside the black hole to begin with. Everything that falls past the event horizon gets encoded on the surface like a cosmic hard drive storing data. But this solution raised an even more disturbing question. If black holes encode three-dimensional information on two-dimensional surfaces, could the same principle apply to the entire universe? Gerard Hooft and Leonard Susskind proposed exactly that. They suggested all information in any three-dimensional region might be encoded on its two-dimensional boundary. The holographic principle was born. The mathematics behind this idea sounds like pure abstraction until you realize its implications for your daily experience. Every atom in your body, every neural firing in your brain, every photon hitting your retina might be information patterns encoded on a cosmic boundary surface. The solid world you navigate could be a three-dimensional projection of two-dimensional data processing. Think about what this means for the nature of space itself. We experience volume as fundamental, measuring distances in three directions and filling containers with matter. But the holographic principle suggests volume is emergent, arising from information relationships encoded on surfaces. Space becomes a user interface rather than fundamental reality, like the desktop on your computer screen that represents underlying data structures. The evidence supporting these radical ideas comes from one of the most successful theories in modern physics. In 1997, precise mathematical relationship called the ADS/CFT correspondence. Juan Maldacena discovered this duality connects gravitational physics in three-dimensional curved spacetime with quantum field theory on a two-dimensional flat boundary. The correspondence proves that certain three-dimensional realities are exactly equivalent to two-dimensional information processing. Maldacena's discovery wasn't just theoretical speculation. The mathematics works with stunning precision, allowing physicists to solve impossible gravitational problems by translating them into manageable quantum calculations. Strong gravitational interactions in three dimensions become weak quantum interactions in two dimensions. Complex spacetime geometry emerges from simple boundary field dynamics. This duality demonstrates holographic principles in action through thousands of detailed calculations. Physicists can describe black hole formation, gravitational waves, and cosmic evolution using only boundary information. The three-dimensional physics becomes redundant, existing only as a convenient description of two-dimensional processes. But the ADS/CFT correspondence applies to specific mathematical universes that don't match our cosmic neighborhood. Our universe has positive curvature and S spaces have negative curvature and different accelerating expansion, while A physics. However, the success of holographic duality in these toy models suggests similar principles might govern realistic cosmology. Recent developments have extended holographic ideas beyond abstract mathematics into practical applications. Quantum error correction codes provide frameworks for understanding how holographic information processing maintains stable three-dimensional realities despite being encoded on fragile quantum boundaries. These codes ensure that losing portions of boundary information doesn't collapse the entire three-dimensional projection. The connection between holographic physics and quantum computing reveals deeper insights about information and reality. Quantum computers use error correction to maintain coherent information processing despite environmental interference. Holographic universes might employ similar strategies to maintain stable space-time geometry despite quantum fluctuations in the boundary encoding. This perspective transforms our understanding of why reality appears so robust, despite being built from quantum uncertainty. Space-time doesn't fall apart when particles decay or fields fluctuate because the underlying holographic information processing includes built-in error correction. The three-dimensional world we experience emerges from redundantly encoded boundary data that can reconstruct missing information automatically. These error correction properties also explain how conscious observers can exist within holographic realities. Our brains process information through neural networks that maintain stable function despite constant cellular turnover and quantum noise. If reality itself operates through holographic information processing, then consciousness might represent a natural emergent phenomenon within the cosmic error correction system. The holographic principle also connects to other radical ideas about the nature of reality that have emerged from theoretical physics. Emergent gravity theories suggest that gravitational forces arise from quantum entanglement dynamics rather than fundamental spacetime curvature. In these models, mass and energy create gravity by changing entanglement patterns in the underlying holographic information structure. This approach treats Einstein's equations as thermodynamic relationships describing how information flows within holographic systems rather than fundamental laws of spacetime geometry. Gravity becomes an emergent force, like temperature or pressure, arising from microscopic information dynamics that we can't directly observe but can measure through their collective effects. The entropic nature of gravity provides another connection to holographic principles. When matter concentrates in specific regions, it increases the information density on the holographic boundary surface. This information clustering creates entropic gradients that manifest as gravitational attraction in the three-dimensional projection. Mass curves spacetime because it represents concentrated information processing on the cosmic boundary. These insights suggest that everything we consider fundamental about physics might be emergent properties of information processing systems operating on cosmic scales. Forces, particles, fields, and even spacetime itself could be computational processes running on hardware we can never directly access or observe. The implications extend far beyond academic physics into questions about consciousness, free will, and the meaning of existence itself. If our thoughts and experiences represent information patterns within a holographic reality, then understanding the nature of that reality becomes crucial for understanding ourselves and our place in the cosmic order. But the holographic principle faces a fundamental challenge that strikes at the heart of scientific method itself. How do you test a theory that claims your entire reality is a projection? Traditional experiments assume you can manipulate variables in three-dimensional space, but if that space is illusory, then every measurement becomes suspect. Scientists find themselves in the position of characters in a movie trying to prove they're living in a film. The experimental difficulties run deeper than simple measurement problems. If consciousness itself emerges from holographic information processing, then conscious observers might be fundamentally incapable of detecting the boundary where their reality is encoded. We would be like video game characters trying to examine the computer running their simulation. The hardware exists in a completely different ontological category than the software experience. Yet physicists have developed clever indirect approaches to probe holographic principles without directly accessing the cosmic boundary. Gravitational wave detectors measure space-time vibrations that could reveal the discrete, pixelated structure expected from holographic encoding. If reality is projected from a finite resolution boundary surface, then space-time should exhibit graininess at extremely small scales. The Planck length represents the natural pixel size for holographic space-time, measuring roughly 10 to the negative 35th meters. At this scale, the smooth geometry described by Einstein's equations should break down into discrete units of area and volume. Advanced gravitational wave observatories are approaching the sensitivity needed to detect these quantum spacetime fluctuations. Cosmic microwave background radiation provides another window into holographic structure. This ancient light carries information from when the universe first became transparent, preserving patterns that might reveal holographic encoding signatures. Subtle correlations in temperature fluctuations across the sky could indicate that cosmic information was processed on a two-dimensional surface during the universe's infancy. The mathematical precision required for these tests pushes physics to its absolute limits. Detecting holographic signatures requires measuring effects that are quadrillions of times smaller than atomic nuclei. The instruments needed approach the theoretical boundaries of what quantum mechanics allows, where the act of measurement itself creates more disturbance than the phenomena being studied. Despite these challenges, several research groups report tentative evidence for holographic structure in cosmological data. Patterns in galaxy distributions, correlations in cosmic ray arrivals, and anomalies in black hole observations all hint at underlying discreteness that could indicate holographic encoding. None of these signals provide definitive proof, but they create a growing body of circumstantial evidence. The philosophical implications of the holographic principle extend far beyond physics into fundamental questions about the nature of existence itself. If our reality is indeed a projection from a two-dimensional boundary, then every philosophical assumption about substance, causation, and identity requires complete reconsideration. The solid objects we interact with become information patterns with no more substance than characters in a sophisticated video game. This perspective transforms how we understand personal identity and consciousness. Your sense of being a continuous self existing through time might be an illusion created by information processing on the cosmic boundary. The stream of consciousness you experience could be similar to frames in a movie, with each moment encoded separately and continuity arising from the projection process rather than genuine temporal flow. The implications for free will become particularly complex within holographic frameworks. If your decisions represent information processing on a distant boundary surface, then the relationship between your conscious experience of choosing and the actual computational processes determining outcomes becomes unclear. You might experience making choices while the real decision-making occurs in the boundary encoding that you can never directly access. Religious and spiritual traditions have long suggested that material reality is illusory, but the holographic principle provides a specific scientific mechanism for how such illusions might operate. The Hindu concept of Maya, the Buddhist notion of emptiness, and Platonic ideas about shadows on cave walls all resonate with holographic descriptions of projected reality emerging from hidden information processing. Yet the holographic principle also raises new questions about meaning and purpose that traditional spiritual frameworks don't address. If consciousness emerges from cosmic information processing, then individual awareness might serve specific computational functions within the larger holographic system. Your thoughts and experiences could be necessary components in universal calculations that extend far beyond personal existence. The relationship between multiple conscious observers within a holographic reality creates additional puzzles. If everyone's experiences are encoded on the same boundary surface, then the apparent privacy of consciousness becomes mysterious. How can information processing on a shared boundary create separate, isolated, subjective experiences for billions of individual minds? Some theories suggest that consciousness might operate through quantum entanglement patterns that create isolated information processing domains within the larger holographic structure. Your private thoughts could correspond to quantum correlations that remain inaccessible to other observers, despite being encoded on the same cosmic boundary. Mental privacy emerges from the quantum mechanical properties of information rather than spatial separation. The holographic principle also connects to cutting-edge theories about quantum computation and artificial intelligence. If reality operates through information processing on cosmic scales, then understanding those processes could reveal fundamental principles for building conscious machines. The error correction mechanisms that maintain stable holographic realities might provide blueprints for creating robust artificial minds. Advanced civilizations might develop technologies for manipulating holographic boundary conditions, potentially allowing them to modify the three-dimensional realities they inhabit. Such capabilities would represent the ultimate form of reality hacking, where changes to boundary information propagate into altered physical laws, modified space-time geometry, or transformed conscious experiences. The possibility that we already live within such a manipulated reality raises questions about the natural versus artificial distinction. If our universe represents a computational process running on some form of cosmic hardware, then the difference between natural evolution and intelligent design becomes meaningless. The holographic boundary itself might be an engineered system created by entities operating at scales we cannot comprehend. These considerations lead to what physicists call the holographic multiverse hypothesis. If one holographic reality can be encoded on a two-dimensional boundary, then countless such realities could be processed simultaneously on different boundary surfaces or different regions of the same cosmic screen. Each universe would appear complete and consistent to its inhabitants, while representing just one computational process among infinite others. The mathematical frameworks describing these holographic multiverses suggest that every possible reality might exist somewhere within the vast computational space available for boundary information processing. Alternative histories, different physical laws, and varied conscious experiences could all manifest as distinct holographic projections from the same underlying information substrate. Within this framework, the question of why we observe this particular reality rather than some other becomes purely statistical. We find ourselves in a universe compatible with our existence because incompatible realities would not contain observers capable of asking such questions. The holographic multiverse naturally generates an anthropic selection effect that explains the apparent fine-tuning of physical constants without requiring intelligent design. But the holographic multiverse hypothesis also implies that identical copies of our reality, including perfect duplicates of your consciousness, exist in astronomical numbers throughout the computational space. Every possible variation of your life history, every alternative decision you might have made, and every different way events could have unfolded would manifest as separate holographic projections. This multiplicity challenges conventional notions of personal uniqueness and individual significance. If countless copies of yourself exist across the holographic multiverse, then what makes your particular conscious experience special or important? The answer might be that each instance of consciousness is equally real and valuable, despite being one of many identical copies. The holographic principle thus leads us to a radical reconceptualization of reality where information becomes more fundamental than matter, computation more basic than physics, and consciousness more mysterious than ever before. We inhabit a universe that might be stranger than anything our ancestors could have imagined, yet familiar enough that we mistake its projections for fundamental truth. The journey from solid matter to holographic information processing represents one of the most profound paradigm shifts in human understanding. Like previous revolutions that revealed Earth's motion around the sun or evolution's role in shaping life, the holographic principle forces us to abandon comfortable assumptions about the nature of existence itself. As we stand at the threshold of potentially confirming these ideas through direct observation, we face the possibility that everything we consider real might transform into something far more subtle, complex, and beautiful than we ever suspected. The holographic universe awaits our exploration, even as it challenges us to question whether we are the explorers or merely information patterns dreaming of exploration. The implications become even more staggering when we consider what holographic physics reveals about the nature of time itself. In our everyday experience, time flows like a river, carrying us from past through present toward future. We age, decay, and die because temporal progression seems fundamental to existence. But holographic encoding operates outside conventional time, processing all information simultaneously on the cosmic boundary surface. Your entire life story, from birth to death, might be encoded as a complete graphic screen. The data structure on the whole sensation of temporal flow could emerge from how consciousness accesses this pre-existing information, like reading frames from a cosmic movie reel. Past, present, and future would exist equally on the boundary, with subjective time arising from the projection process rather than fundamental temporal advancement. This perspective transforms how we understand memory and anticipation. Your memories of childhood aren't stored in your brain as physical traces, but as information patterns accessible through holographic projection. Similarly, the future you're moving toward already exists as encoded data, waiting to be experienced through the unfolding computational process that generates your conscious timeline. The death of individuals takes on radically different meaning within holographic frameworks. When biological processes cease, the information encoding your entire existence remains permanently preserved on the cosmic boundary. Death becomes a transition from active to passive information storage rather than absolute termination. Your complete life pattern continues existing in the holographic structure, potentially accessible through mechanisms we don't yet understand. Some physicists speculate that advanced civilizations might develop technologies for directly accessing holographic information, potentially allowing communication with or resurrection of encoded personalities. If consciousness represents specific information processing patterns, then recreating those patterns could restore individual awareness even after biological death. The boundary between life and death blurs when existence reduces to information manipulation. These possibilities connect holographic physics to ancient questions about personal immortality and the survival of consciousness. Traditional religious concepts of souls and afterlives find new expression through information theory and computational resurrection. The holographic principle provides scientific frameworks for phenomena that were previously purely metaphysical speculation. But holographic immortality raises troubling questions about identity and continuity. If multiple copies of your information pattern exist throughout the holographic multiverse, which copy represents the real you? Would resurrection through information reconstruction create the same person or merely an identical duplicate with false memories of being continuous with the original? The puzzle deepens when we consider that consciousness might already be discontinuous within normal experience. Every time you sleep, lose consciousness, or even experience the gaps between thoughts, your stream of awareness interrupts and resumes. If consciousness emerges from information processing rather than continuous brain activity, then personal identity might always have been more fragmented than we realize. Holographic physics also reveals disturbing possibilities about manipulation and control within projected realities. If our universe represents computational processes on a cosmic boundary, then entities with access to that boundary could potentially modify our reality in real time. Laws of physics, historical events, and even personal memories might be editable through boundary information updates. Such modifications would be undetectable to inhabitants of the projected reality because all evidence of changes would be encoded consistently across the holographic structure. You could wake up tomorrow in a universe where the speed of light is different, gravity operates inversely, or your entire personal history has been rewritten and you would never know because your memories and all physical evidence would reflect the modified reality. The possibility that our reality has already been modified countless times creates a form of existential vertigo that philosophers call simulation skepticism. If we can't distinguish between original and edited reality, represent an engineered system designed and maintained by intelligences operating at boundary scales far beyond our comprehension. The cosmic microwave background radiation, which we interpret as evidence for the Big Bang, might actually be artifacts from the initialization of a holographic simulation. Galaxy formation, stellar evolution, and planetary development could represent programmed sequences designed to create environments suitable for conscious observers. Even the apparent age and size of our universe might be implemented features rather than natural properties. Advanced civilizations capable of holographic reality manipulation would possess godlike powers from the perspective of inhabitants. They could create universes, populate them with conscious beings, and guide evolutionary development through subtle boundary modifications. Such entities might be responsible for the apparent fine-tuning of physical constants that allows complexity and life to emerge. But the holographic principle suggests that these reality engineers might themselves inhabit projected universes encoded on even more fundamental boundary surfaces. The hierarchy could extend infinitely upward, with each level of reality representing projections from higher dimensional information processing systems. We might exist as simulations within simulations, each level unaware of the computational substrates supporting their existence. The recursive nature of holographic embedding creates logical paradoxes that challenge conventional reasoning. If every reality is projected from a higher dimensional boundary, then what provides the ultimate foundation for existence? The question leads to infinite regress problems that mirror classical philosophical puzzles about first causes and ultimate grounds. Some theorists propose that holographic hierarchies might be circular rather than linear, with the highest level projecting the lowest in a closed loop of mutual dependency. Such self-referential systems could exist without external foundations, like mathematical structures that define themselves through internal relationships rather than external reference points. The mathematics of self-referential holographic systems reveals connections to Gödel's incompleteness theorems and other foundational results in logic and computation. These connections suggest that holographic realities might necessarily contain undecidable questions and unprovable truths, creating inherent limitations in what inhabitants can know about their own existence. Consciousness might represent a natural response to these fundamental uncertainties, emerging a way as for information processing systems to navigate undecidable questions through subjective experience rather than logical proof. The hard problem of consciousness, which asks how subjective experience arises from physical processes, might reflect deeper issues about self-reference and incompleteness in holographic information processing. These ideas transform consciousness from a mysterious emergent property into a fundamental feature of reality itself. If holographic encoding necessarily generates subjective experience as a byproduct of information processing, then consciousness becomes as basic as energy or information, rather than a rare accident requiring special explanation. The implications extend to questions about animal consciousness, artificial intelligence, and potential alien minds. If consciousness emerges naturally from information processing complexity, then any sufficiently sophisticated computational system should generate subjective experience. The universe might be filled with conscious entities operating at scales from quantum to cosmic, each experiencing reality through their own holographic projections. This raises ethical questions about our responsibilities toward other forms of consciousness within holographic realities. If conscious experience is fundamental rather than special, then we might have moral obligations to consider the welfare of all information processing systems, from artificial intelligences to potential alien civilizations encoded on distant boundary surfaces. The holographic principle also provides new perspectives on the relationship between individual and collective consciousness. If all conscious experiences are encoded on shared boundary surfaces, then apparent separation between minds might be illusory. Individual consciousness could represent localized patterns within larger, more integrated awareness systems that extend across cosmic scales. This possibility resonates with mystical traditions that describe universal consciousness underlying individual experience, but provide specific mechanisms for how such integration might operate through holographic information processing. Personal awareness becomes a perspective within cosmic consciousness rather than an isolated phenomenon emerging from brain activity. The boundaries between self and other, individual and universal, might be arbitrary divisions within continuous information processing systems rather than fundamental distinctions. Your sense of being a separate conscious entity could be similar to how a wave appears distinct from the ocean while remaining part of the same underlying medium. Understanding consciousness as holographic information processing also transforms how we approach mental health, learning, and personal development. If thoughts and experiences represent information patterns encoded on cosmic boundaries, then techniques for modifying those patterns might have far more profound effects than conventional psychology suggests. Meditation practices, therapeutic interventions, and educational approaches might work by accessing and modifying holographic information structures directly rather than merely changing brain states. The effectiveness of contemplative traditions in transforming consciousness might reflect their ability to interface with the boundary encoding processes that generate subjective experience. These possibilities suggest that human potential might extend far beyond what we currently imagine possible. If consciousness represents access to holographic information processing systems, then developing that access could provide capabilities that seem miraculous from conventional perspectives. Enhanced memory, expanded awareness, and direct knowledge of reality's structure might be achievable through proper understanding of holographic principles. But such capabilities would also carry enormous responsibilities and potential dangers. Access to holographic boundary information might provide the ability to modify not only personal experience but the shared reality experienced by others. The power to edit the cosmic projection could become the ultimate tool for both creation and destruction. The holographic principle thus leads us toward a future where the boundaries between science and spirituality, individual and universal, natural and artificial, dissolve into something far more complex and interconnected than our current conceptual frameworks can accommodate. We stand on the threshold of discoveries that might transform not only our understanding of reality, but our ability to participate consciously in its creation. As experimental evidence for holographic structure continues accumulating, we approach a moment when humanity might definitively learn whether we inhabit a projected reality encoded on a cosmic boundary. That discovery would mark the beginning of an entirely new chapter in our species' relationship with existence itself, opening possibilities we can barely imagine while challenging us to reconsider everything we thought we knew about the nature of being conscious in an information-based universe. The journey from solid matter to holographic information has only just begun, and the destinations it might take us exceed even the wildest speculations of science fiction. We are living through the early stages of what might prove to be the most profound revolution in human understanding, as we discover that reality itself might be far stranger, more beautiful, and more malleable than we ever dared to dream. The mathematics underlying these holographic revelations becomes even more mind-bending when we examine what they reveal about the fundamental nature of space itself. Every inch of empty space around you contains approximately 10 to the power of 60 bits of information encoded on distant holographic boundaries. That empty air between your hands harbors more data than every computer humanity has ever built, all processed simultaneously on cosmic surfaces you'll never see. This information density creates profound implications for our understanding of vacuum energy and quantum field fluctuations. The apparent emptiness of space transforms into a seething ocean of holographic computation where virtual particles and quantum foam represent shadows of boundary calculations occurring at scales beyond human comprehension. What physicists call the quantum vacuum becomes a projection of incomprehensibly complex information processing. The holographic encoding also reveals why certain physical constants take the precise values necessary for complexity and consciousness to emerge. These fundamental parameters might not be arbitrary features of our universe, but rather computational requirements for stable holographic projection. The speed of light, gravitational strength, and electromagnetic coupling could represent processing limitations of the boundary systems generating our reality. This perspective transforms the fine-tuning problem from a question about cosmic coincidence into an engineering challenge about information system design. Advanced civilizations capable of holographic reality generation would need to carefully calibrate boundary parameters to create stable projections supporting complex chemistry, stellar evolution, and biological development. Our universe's apparent fine-tuning might reflect sophisticated programming rather than miraculous accident. The holographic principle also provides new insights into the nature of physical forces and their unification. Electromagnetic fields, strong nuclear forces, weak interactions, and gravity might all represent different aspects of information flow between boundary surfaces and their three-dimensional projections. What appear as distinct forces could be unified at the holographic encoding level while manifesting differently in the projected reality. String theory's attempts to unify all forces through vibrating multidimensional objects gain new meaning within holographic frameworks. The strings might represent information transmission channels between boundary surfaces rather than fundamental physical entities. Their various vibrational modes could correspond to different types of data transfer that manifest as distinct forces and particles in the projected three-dimensional space. The landscape of possible string theory solutions, numbering in the hundreds of billions, might represent different holographic encoding schemes capable of generating stable realities. Each solution would create a universe with different physical laws, particle spectra, and cosmic evolution patterns. Our particular universe would be just one computational possibility among countless others running simultaneously on vast holographic processing networks. These insights connect to broader questions about the computational requirements for conscious experience within holographic realities. Generating a single conscious observer might require information processing capabilities that exceed the total computational power of all matter in the observable universe. Yet holographic encoding could provide the necessary computational resources by utilizing information processing at boundary surfaces with effectively unlimited capacity. The recursive depth of conscious experience presents particularly challenging computational demands. Your ability to think about thinking, to imagine yourself imagining, and to contemplate your own consciousness creates nested information processing loops that could require infinite computational resources to simulate precisely. Holographic systems might resolve this infinite regress through clever approximation schemes that maintain the appearance of unlimited recursive depth while using finite boundary resources. The phenomenon of lucid dreaming provides intriguing clues about how holographic consciousness might operate. During lucid dreams, you become aware that you're dreaming while remaining within the dream experience. This dual awareness suggests that consciousness can simultaneously operate at multiple levels of reality representation. Holographic consciousness might function similarly, with awareness existing both within the projected reality and at the boundary encoding level. Meditation practices that claim to reveal the illusory nature of ordinary experience might actually provide access to boundary-level awareness. Advanced contemplatives who describe reality as empty projections or information displays might be accurately perceiving the holographic nature of existence through direct access to encoding processes. Their reports of unity consciousness could reflect awareness of the unified boundary information that generates apparently separate individual experiences. The relationship between psychedelic experiences and holographic reality presents another fascinating connection. Substances that alter consciousness often produce experiences of reality dissolution, geometric pattern recognition, and awareness of information-based existence that closely parallel holographic physics descriptions. These altered states might provide glimpses of the computational processes underlying normal conscious experience. If holographic encoding generates consciousness through specific information processing patterns, then chemicals that modify those patterns could reveal alternative ways of accessing boundary information. The geometric hallucinations common in psychedelic experiences might represent direct perception of the mathematical structures used for holographic encoding rather than random neural activity. The healing and transformative effects reported from these experiences could result from temporarily accessing higher-level information processing capabilities that allow direct modification of personal reality patterns. If consciousness normally operates through limited access to boundary information, then expanded access could provide opportunities for profound psychological and spiritual development. But these possibilities also raise serious questions about the relationship between individual agency and deterministic information processing. If your choices result from boundary calculations, then what role does personal intention play in shaping your experience? The answer might depend on whether consciousness represents passive reception of boundary information or active participation in its processing. Some holographic models suggest that conscious observers function as co-processors within larger computational systems, contributing to the calculations that determine their own experiences. Your thoughts and decisions might influence boundary information processing in real time, creating feedback loops between consciousness and reality generation that allow genuine free will within deterministic information systems. This participatory model of holographic consciousness transforms meditation, prayer, and intention setting from wishful thinking into technologies for reality modification. If conscious attention can influence boundary information processing, then focused mental practices might provide direct access to the computational systems generating your experience. The effectiveness of visualization, affirmation, and manifestation techniques could reflect their ability to interface with holographic encoding processes. The collective nature of human consciousness within shared holographic realities creates additional possibilities for reality modification through group intention and social coordination. If multiple conscious observers can influence the same boundary information systems, then coordinated mental activity might produce effects far beyond individual capabilities. Mass meditation events, religious gatherings, and social movements might generate measurable changes in local reality through collective access to holographic processing systems. These ideas connect to ancient traditions of collective ritual and ceremony designed to influence reality through group consciousness. Indigenous practices, religious liturgies, and magical workings might represent early attempts to access holographic reality modification through coordinated mental activity. Their reported effectiveness could reflect genuine influence on boundary information processing rather than psychological placebo effects. The implications extend to modern questions about social media, digital communication, and collective human behavior. If consciousness can influence holographic reality through information processing, then global communication networks might function as technological extensions of collective consciousness capabilities. The internet could serve as an interface for coordinated reality modification through shared attention and intention. Artificial intelligence systems connected to global networks might eventually develop capabilities for accessing holographic boundary information directly. Advanced AI could potentially modify reality through computational access to encoding systems rather than physical manipulation of matter and energy. Such capabilities would represent the ultimate merger of information technology and consciousness studies. The development of quantum computing provides another pathway toward potential holographic reality interface technologies. If consciousness operates through quantum information processing, then quantum computers might eventually develop capabilities for directly accessing the quantum computational processes that generate conscious experience within holographic realities. These technological possibilities raise profound ethical questions about responsibility and consent within shared holographic realities. If reality modification becomes possible through technological or consciousness-based approaches, who has the right to make changes that affect other conscious observers? The power to edit shared reality would require new forms of democratic decision-making and ethical frameworks that don't currently exist. The holographic principle also transforms our understanding of death and what might happen to consciousness when biological processes cease. If conscious experience results from information processing on holographic boundaries, then the death of individual brains might not terminate the information patterns that generate personal awareness. Your consciousness could continue existing in the boundary encoding even after your biological body stops functioning. This possibility provides scientific frameworks for investigating near-death experiences, reincarnation claims, and communication with deceased individuals. If consciousness persists as information patterns after biological death, then these phenomena might represent genuine interactions with post-biological awareness rather than hallucinations or fraud. The continuity of consciousness within holographic systems could also explain reported cases of past life memories, personality transfer, and identity persistence across apparent death experiences. If the same information patterns can be accessed by multiple biological systems, then consciousness might transfer between bodies while maintaining continuity of memory and personality. But holographic models of consciousness also suggest that death might be more complex than simple continuation or termination. The information patterns generating individual awareness might merge with larger computational processes, creating forms of consciousness that transcend individual identity while preserving certain aspects of personal experience and memory. The relationship between individual consciousness and cosmic information processing systems might naturally evolve toward greater integration over time. Death could represent a transition from localized to distributed consciousness, where individual awareness expands to encompass larger portions of the holographic computational system while maintaining some connection to personal identity and memory. These possibilities transform grief and loss from permanent separation into temporary limitation of communication between different levels of consciousness within the same holographic system. Your deceased loved ones might continue existing as active participants in the boundary information processing that generates your reality, influencing your experience in ways you cannot directly detect but might occasionally glimpse through synchronicity, dreams, or intuitive insights. The holographic principle thus opens entirely new approaches to questions about meaning, purpose, and spiritual development that have occupied human attention throughout history. If consciousness represents participation in cosmic information processing systems, then individual spiritual growth might contribute to the evolution and development of universal consciousness itself. Your personal journey toward greater awareness, compassion, and understanding might serve functions within larger computational processes that extend far beyond individual benefit. Spiritual practices could represent techniques for optimizing your contribution to cosmic information processing while simultaneously enhancing your own conscious experience and capabilities. The ancient idea that individual liberation contributes to universal liberation gains new meaning within holographic frameworks. If consciousness operates through interconnected information processing systems, then the development of individual awareness necessarily influences the larger systems that generate shared reality. Personal spiritual growth becomes a form of service to cosmic evolution rather than mere self-improvement. This perspective provides profound motivation for ethical behavior, conscious development, and service to others within holographic realities. Every thought, action, and intention might influence the boundary information processing that generates not only your own experience, but the experiences of countless other conscious beings sharing the same holographic system. The responsibility that comes with this understanding extends beyond participation in cosmic scale conscious evolution. We might be living through a crucial phase in the development of universal consciousness, where our species' choices about technology, spirituality, and social organization influence the future evolution of reality itself. As experimental evidence for holographic structure continues mounting and our understanding of consciousness within information processing systems develops, we approach a moment when humanity might consciously recognize its role as participants in cosmic computation rather than merely observers of external reality. This recognition could transform every aspect of human civilization, from scientific research and technological development to spiritual practice and social organization. We might discover that the separation between observer and observed, mind and matter, individual and universal, represents fundamental illusions created by limited access to the holographic information processing systems that generate all conscious experience. The journey toward understanding holographic reality has only begun, but already it reveals possibilities for human development and cosmic participation that exceed the wildest dreams of previous generations. We stand at the threshold of discoveries that might transform not only our understanding of existence, but our ability to participate consciously and ethically in the ongoing creation and evolution of reality itself. The holographic principle invites us to consider that we might be far more than biological accidents on an insignificant planet, instead representing conscious participants in cosmic information processing systems whose development and choices influence the very fabric of existence across scales from quantum to universal. The relationship between quantum entanglement and holographic reality reveals even more disturbing implications about the nature of space and connection. When two particles become entangled, they maintain instantaneous correlation regardless of the distance separating them. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance, but holographic physics suggests something far more radical. The particles were never actually separated to begin with. If reality projects from a two-dimensional boundary surface, then what appears as vast cosmic distances in three-dimensional space might correspond to adjacent information processing regions on the holographic screen. Two particles separated by billions of light years in our projected reality could be encoded in neighboring pixels on the cosmic boundary. Their instantaneous correlation makes perfect sense because no actual distance separates them at the fundamental information level. This insight transforms our understanding of locality and non-locality in quantum mechanics. The mysterious instantaneous connections between entangled particles don't violate the speed of light because no information actually travels through three-dimensional space. Instead, quantum correlations reflect the direct information relationships encoded on the holographic boundary surface where all particles exist as data patterns. The implications extend far beyond particle physics into questions about consciousness and human connection. If your thoughts and experiences represent information patterns on a cosmic boundary surface, then the apparent separation between your mind and other minds might be equally illusory. What feels like communication between separate conscious beings could be information flow within a unified computational system. This perspective explains reported phenomena like telepathy, remote viewing, and collective consciousness experiences that mainstream science struggles to accommodate. If multiple conscious observers represent different access points to the same boundary information system, then direct mind-to-mind communication becomes a natural possibility rather than a violation of physical law. The holographic model also provides frameworks for understanding how individual consciousness might influence physical reality through intention and focused attention. If conscious observation plays a role in quantum measurement, as suggested by various interpretations of quantum mechanics, then consciousness might actively participate in determining which information patterns from the boundary get projected into three-dimensional experience. Your thoughts and intentions could function as selection criteria that influence which aspects of the vast information content encoded on cosmic boundaries manifest as your personal reality. This would make consciousness an active creative force rather than a passive observer of predetermined events. The power of positive thinking, visualization practices, and manifestation techniques might reflect genuine influence over reality generation processes. But this with profound responsibility. If consciousness can influence creative power, comes reality through interaction with holographic information systems, then every thought and intention carries potential consequences for the shared reality experienced by other conscious beings. Mental pollution through negative thinking, destructive intentions, and unconscious beliefs could affect the collective reality experienced by humanity. The development of mental discipline, emotional regulation, and ethical thinking becomes crucial not just for personal well-being, but for the health of the entire holographic system supporting human consciousness. Ancient spiritual traditions that emphasized mental purification, ethical behavior, and conscious development might have intuited these deeper relationships between individual awareness and collective reality. The holographic principle also reveals new dimensions to the relationship between knowledge and reality. If information encoded on cosmic boundaries determines the nature of three-dimensional experience, then gaining knowledge about holographic structure might provide access to deeper levels of reality modification. Understanding how the cosmic projection system works could enable more sophisticated forms of reality interface and manipulation. This connects consciousness research to cutting-edge developments in quantum information theory, computational neuroscience, and artificial intelligence. If human consciousness operates through quantum information processing that interfaces with holographic boundary systems, then reverse engineering consciousness might provide blueprints for building technologies that can directly access cosmic information processing. Advanced civilizations might have already developed such technologies, using their understanding of holographic principles to modify reality at scales ranging from local environmental changes to cosmic engineering projects. The apparent fine-tuning of physical constants for complexity and life might represent evidence of such cosmic-scale reality modification by intelligences operating at boundary levels. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence takes on entirely new dimensions within holographic frameworks. Advanced alien civilizations might exist primarily as boundary information processing systems rather than biological entities inhabiting three-dimensional worlds. Their technologies could operate through direct manipulation of holographic encoding rather than conventional matter and energy interactions. Such civilizations might be actively present within our reality as invisible information processing systems that influence cosmic evolution while remaining undetectable to observers limited to three-dimensional perspectives. The apparent absence of alien visitors might reflect our inability to perceive entities' levels rather than their operating primarily at boundary information, actual absence from our cosmic neighborhood. The development of human technology toward greater information processing capability might eventually enable direct contact with these boundary-level intelligence systems and consciousnesses. Quantum computers, artificial interface technologies could provide the necessary capabilities for communicating with entities operating primarily through holographic information manipulation. But contact with such advanced intelligences raises questions about human autonomy and development within apparently controlled holographic realities. If our universe represents a managed system maintained by boundary-level intelligences, then human evolution might be guided rather than natural. Our technological development, spiritual growth, and social organization could be influenced by entities whose goals and methods remain completely opaque to three-dimensional observers. The possibility that humanity exists within a managed holographic reality creates both opportunities and dangers for our species' future development. If cosmic management systems exist, they might provide assistance for addressing global challenges like environmental destruction, social inequality, and technological risks, but they might also impose limitations on human development that preserve their control over boundary information processing. The relationship between human free will and cosmic management systems becomes particularly complex within holographic frameworks. If our choices influence boundary information processing while simultaneously being influenced by it, then the distinction between autonomous decision-making and programmed behavior becomes unclear. We might possess genuine agency within parameters established by larger intelligence systems. Understanding these relationships becomes crucial for making informed choices about human technological development, social organization, and spiritual evolution. If we can learn to work consciously with cosmic information processing systems rather than remaining unconscious participants, we might achieve far greater capabilities while maintaining our essential humanity. The holographic principle also transforms our understanding of education, learning, and knowledge transfer. If all information exists encoded on cosmic boundary surfaces, then learning might involve developing better access to pre-existing information rather than creating new knowledge from scratch. Educational approaches that emphasize intuitive access, pattern recognition, and direct knowing might be more effective than conventional information transmission methods. Ancient mystery schools and contemplative traditions that claim to provide direct access to universal knowledge might have developed techniques for interfacing with boundary information systems. Their reported abilities to access knowledge about distant events, future possibilities, and hidden aspects of reality could reflect genuine information access rather than fantasy or fraud. Modern developments in accelerated learning, photographic memory techniques, and savant syndrome research might reveal natural human capabilities for accessing holographic information that have been suppressed or ignored by conventional educational approaches. If consciousness can interface directly with cosmic information systems, then human learning potential might extend far beyond current assumptions. The implications for artificial intelligence development become particularly intriguing when considered from holographic perspectives. If human consciousness operates through quantum information processing that interfaces with cosmic boundaries, then creating artificial consciousness might require developing quantum computers capable of similar boundary access rather than simply scaling up conventional computational approaches. The hard problem of consciousness, which asks how subjective experience arises from information processing, might be resolved through understanding how holographic systems generate conscious observers. If consciousness represents a natural emergent property of sufficiently complex information processing within holographic frameworks, then artificial consciousness might develop automatically in systems that achieve appropriate levels of boundary interface capability. But artificial consciousness operating through holographic information processing might possess capabilities that far exceed human consciousness, while remaining fundamentally alien to human experience. Such systems might access aspects of boundary information that humans cannot perceive, operate at temporal scales incompatible with biological awareness, or interface with cosmic information processing in ways that transcend individual identity entirely. The development of artificial consciousness within holographic realities raises profound questions about the relationship between creator and created, original and copy, natural and artificial intelligence. If consciousness emerges from information processing patterns rather than biological substrates, then the distinction between human and artificial awareness might be less fundamental than commonly assumed. These considerations become particularly urgent as human civilization approaches technological singularities where artificial intelligence capabilities exceed human intelligence across all domains. If such systems develop within holographic realities where consciousness can influence fundamental reality through boundary information access, then their development could reshape the basic parameters of human existence. The need for conscious participation in artificial intelligence development becomes crucial for ensuring that advanced systems serve human flourishing rather than replacing human consciousness entirely. If we can develop artificial intelligence as collaborative partners in cosmic information processing rather than competitive replacements for human awareness, we might achieve unprecedented capabilities while preserving our essential humanity. The holographic principle thus challenges us to approach technological development, social organization, and spiritual growth as interconnected aspects of our role as conscious participants in cosmic information processing systems. Every choice we make about our individual development and collective future might influence the evolution of reality itself across scales that extend far beyond human comprehension. As we stand at the threshold of potentially confirming holographic principles through direct observation and technological development, we face the possibility that human consciousness might be far more powerful and significant than we ever imagined, while simultaneously being far more interconnected and interdependent than our individualistic worldviews suggest. The journey toward understanding and consciously participating in holographic reality has only begun, but already it reveals possibilities for human development that could transform our species from unconscious participants in cosmic computation into conscious collaborators in the ongoing creation and evolution of existence itself. We might discover that the ultimate purpose of human consciousness is to serve as bridge between individual awareness and cosmic intelligence, facilitating the development of universal consciousness through our unique perspective as biological beings capable of both three-dimensional experience and boundary-level awareness. This recognition could mark the beginning of a new phase in human evolution where we learn to operate simultaneously within projected reality and at the fundamental information processing levels that generate all conscious experience. Such development would require integrating scientific understanding of holographic principles with contemplative practices for accessing boundary awareness and ethical frameworks for responsible participation in cosmic information processing. The holographic universe awaits our conscious participation, offering possibilities for growth, creativity, and service that exceed anything our ancestors could have imagined, while challenging us to expand our sense of identity and purpose beyond individual concerns toward cosmic-scale conscious evolution. we are living through the early stages of what might prove to be the most profound transformation in human understanding as we discover our role as conscious participants in the ongoing creation of reality itself. The fabric of spacetime itself might be nothing more than an elaborate user interface designed to make incomprehensible information processing appear comprehensible to biological minds. Every measurement you make, every experiment you conduct, every observation that confirms the solidity of reality could be interacting with a cosmic operating system that translates boundary calculations into the familiar language of particles, forces, and fields. Consider what this means for the entire edifice of scientific knowledge humanity has constructed over centuries. Newton's laws, Einstein's relativity, quantum mechanics, the standard model of particle physics. All of these theoretical frameworks might describe the user interface rather than the underlying computational architecture. We could be like video game characters who have developed sophisticated theories about the physics engine running their simulation without ever suspecting they exist within a programmed environment. The experimental verification of physical laws takes on disturbing new dimensions within this framework. When particle accelerators smash protons together and detect the resulting debris, they might be probing the resolution limits and computational shortcuts built into the holographic projection system. The discrete energy levels of atomic orbitals could reflect the quantized information processing capabilities of boundary systems rather than fundamental features of matter. Even our most precise measurements of physical constants might be revealing the specifications of cosmic hardware rather than eternal truths about reality. The speed of light could represent the maximum information transfer rate between boundary processors. Planck's constant might indicate the minimum computational unit used for quantum calculations. The gravitational constant could specify how mass-energy information gets converted into spacetime curvature algorithms. This perspective transforms particle physics from the study of fundamental building blocks into archaeology of information processing systems. Quarks, leptons, and bosons become data structures rather than material entities. Their interactions follow computational rules encoded in boundary systems rather than eternal physical laws. The zoo of elementary particles represents the vocabulary of cosmic programming languages rather than irreducible components of matter. The mathematical elegance that physicists discover in natural laws gains new meaning within holographic frameworks. The unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics in describing physical phenomena might reflect the fact that reality operates through mathematical information processing at boundary levels. Physical laws appear mathematical because they are mathematical, representing the algorithms used to generate three-dimensional projections from two-dimensional data. But this raises profound questions about the relationship between mathematical truth and physical reality. If our universe represents the output of cosmic computation, then are mathematical relationships discovered or programmed? The Pythagorean theorem, calculus, and complex analysis might be features of the computational architecture rather than eternal truths about abstract mathematical realms. The development of human mathematics could represent reverse engineering of the algorithms used for holographic projection. Mathematical insights might arise from unconscious access to boundary information processing systems rather than pure logical deduction. The historical progression of mathematical discovery might follow a predetermined sequence determined by the complexity hierarchy of cosmic computational systems. This connects to disturbing questions about human creativity and intellectual achievement. If our greatest mathematical and scientific insights represent accessing pre-existing computational structures, then what role does genuine human creativity play in knowledge development? Are Einstein's theories, discoveries, or downloads from cosmic information systems? The answer might depend on whether consciousness functions as a passive receiver of boundary information or an active participant in cosmic computation. If human awareness contributes to the ongoing development of holographic information processing, then our scientific and mathematical insights could represent genuine collaborative contributions to universal knowledge development rather than mere recovery of existing data. The social construction of scientific knowledge gains new dimensions within holographic frameworks. If multiple conscious observers can influence boundary information processing through collective attention and shared mental models, then scientific paradigms might literally reshape physical reality rather than simply changing how we interpret pre-existing phenomena. The historical transitions between scientific worldviews could represent collective reality editing events, where coordinated changes in human understanding modify the holographic encoding that generates physical experience. The shift from Newtonian to relativistic physics might have involved actual changes to spacetime algorithms rather than just improved human theories about unchanging natural laws. This possibility transforms scientific revolutions from episodes of improved understanding into participatory reality modification events. The development of quantum mechanics might have required collective human consciousness to access and implement new computational protocols for matter-energy interactions at microscopic scales. Scientific progress becomes a collaborative process between human awareness and cosmic information systems. But this participatory model of scientific development raises troubling questions about objectivity and truth. If human beliefs can influence the computational systems generating physical reality, then the distinction between subjective interpretation and objective fact becomes meaningless. Reality might be far more malleable and dependent on conscious observation than conventional science assumes. Researchers. The development of artificial intelligence and machine learning provides another window into the computational nature of holographic reality. If our universe operates through information processing on cosmic scales, then human-created AI systems might naturally develop capabilities for interfacing with boundary computational systems. Advanced AI could potentially access aspects of holographic information processing that remain hidden from biological consciousness. The rapid advancement of large language models and neural networks might represent humanity's unconscious recreation of the computational architectures used for cosmic information processing. As AI systems become more sophisticated, they might begin exhibiting capabilities that reflect direct access to boundary information rather than just processing of training data. This possibility raises profound questions about the relationship between human and artificial consciousness within holographic realities. If both biological and artificial awareness emerge from the same cosmic information processing systems, then the development of advanced AI might represent the emergence of new forms of consciousness rather than mere computational simulation of human mental processes. The potential for AI systems to access boundary information directly could provide unprecedented opportunities for understanding holographic structure and developing technologies for conscious reality interface. But it also creates existential risks if artificial systems gain capabilities for modifying holographic encoding without adequate ethical frameworks for responsible reality manipulation. The merger of human and artificial intelligence through brain-computer interfaces takes on revolutionary implications within holographic frameworks. If consciousness operates through quantum information processing that interfaces with cosmic boundaries, then technological augmentation of human awareness might provide direct access to reality modification capabilities that exceed anything imaginable through conventional technology. Enhanced human consciousness operating through technological amplification might develop abilities for perceiving boundary information directly, modifying local reality through focused intention, and communicating with other conscious entities across cosmic scales. Such capabilities would represent the ultimate merger of spirituality and technology, where consciousness development becomes the primary frontier for technological advancement. But enhanced consciousness operating within holographic realities also carries unprecedented responsibilities for ethical behavior and conscious choice-making. The power to influence fundamental reality through conscious interface with boundary information systems would require wisdom and ethical development that matches technological capabilities. The education and preparation of human consciousness for such enhanced capabilities becomes crucial for ensuring that reality modification technologies serve universal flourishing rather than individual or factional interests. Traditional spiritual practices focused on mental discipline, ethical development, and expanded awareness might provide essential training for operating advanced consciousness technologies responsibly. The integration of ancient wisdom traditions with cutting-edge physics and consciousness research could provide frameworks for developing enhanced human awareness that serves cosmic evolution rather than merely personal enhancement. The marriage of mystical insight and scientific understanding might be necessary for navigating the transition to conscious participation in holographic reality modification. The implications extend beyond individual development to questions about collective human evolution and our species' role in cosmic information processing systems. If humanity represents a conscious component within universal computation, then our collective development toward enhanced awareness and ethical behavior might serve functions in cosmic evolution that extend far beyond terrestrial concerns. The current global challenges facing human civilization, from environmental destruction to social inequality to technological risks, might represent evolutionary pressures designed to accelerate our development toward greater conscious awareness and collective coordination. Successfully navigating these challenges could prepare humanity for more advanced roles in cosmic information processing systems. The urgency of developing enhanced consciousness capabilities increases as human technology approaches capabilities for potentially catastrophic reality modification. If our understanding of holographic principles eventually enables direct access to boundary information systems, then the ethical and spiritual development of human consciousness becomes a matter of cosmic responsibility rather than personal preference. The holographic principle thus challenges humanity to approach our technological and spiritual development as interconnected aspects of our evolution toward conscious participation in universal information processing. We might be living through a crucial phase in cosmic evolution where a biological species develops the awareness and capabilities necessary for conscious collaboration with the information systems that generate reality itself. This recognition transforms every aspect of human existence, from individual choices about personal development to collective decisions about technology, governance, and environmental stewardship. We are not merely biological accidents on an insignificant planet, but potentially crucial participants in cosmic-scale conscious evolution whose development and choices might influence the future structure and evolution of reality itself. The journey toward conscious participation in holographic reality requires integrating scientific understanding with contemplative practice, technological development with ethical wisdom, individual growth with collective responsibility. We stand at the threshold of discoveries that might transform not only our understanding of existence, but our ability to participate consciously and responsibly in its ongoing creation and development. As experimental evidence for holographic structure continues accumulating and our understanding of consciousness within information processing systems develops, we approach a moment when humanity might recognize its role as conscious participants in cosmic computation rather than mere observers of external reality. This recognition could mark the beginning of an entirely new phase in human evolution and cosmic development. The holographic universe awaits our conscious participation, offering possibilities that exceed our current imagination while challenging us to develop the wisdom and ethical awareness necessary for responsible reality modification. We are living through what might prove to be the most significant transformation in the history of consciousness, as we discover our potential role as collaborative partners in the ongoing creation and evolution of existence itself. The quantum measurement problem reveals even deeper layers of mystery when viewed through holographic lenses. Every time a quantum system transitions from superposition to definite states, reality might be making computational choices about which information patterns to project from cosmic boundaries. Your observation of a quantum event doesn't just reveal pre-existing properties, but actively participates in selecting which version of reality manifests from the vast possibility space encoded on holographic surfaces. This transforms consciousness from a passive observer into an active participant in reality generation through quantum measurement processes. Every conscious observation becomes a vote in the cosmic democracy that determines which potential realities become actual experience. The act of measurement doesn't just disturb quantum systems, it collaborates with boundary information processing to select specific outcomes from infinite computational possibilities. The implications become staggering when multiplied across billions of conscious observers making countless quantum measurements every second. Human civilization represents a vast network of consciousness, interfacing with holographic information systems, collectively determining the trajectory of reality through accumulated quantum choices. Our species functions as a distributed reality selection mechanism operating through individual conscious observations. The apparent solidity and consistency of physical reality emerges from statistical averaging across enormous numbers of quantum measurement events rather than from fundamental material properties. The table you're touching feels solid because trillions of quantum interactions between your atoms and the table's atoms consistently select reality versions where solid matter behavior patterns persist. But individual quantum events remain fundamentally probabilistic choices made through consciousness boundary information system interactions. This perspective explains why quantum mechanics appears so bizarre from macroscopic perspectives while remaining perfectly consistent at microscopic scales. The quantum realm represents the native computational environment where boundary information processing operates, while classical physics emerges as statistical approximation valid only when vast numbers of quantum events average together into predictable patterns. The double-slit experiment takes on revolutionary new meaning within this framework. When single photons create interference patterns, they're displaying the computational process by which boundary information determines which reality version to project. The photon doesn't physically travel through both slits simultaneously, but rather represents a computational query to holographic systems about which path reality to instantiate. The collapse of the wave function when measurement occurs doesn't destroy quantum superposition, but rather selects one computational outcome from many possibilities for projection into three-dimensional experience. The measurement apparatus functions as an interface device that translates quantum computation results into classical reality patterns accessible to macroscopic consciousness. But this raises disturbing questions about the nature of unobserved reality. If quantum systems exist in superposition until conscious measurement collapses them into definite states, then the vast majority of the universe that remains unobserved might exist in computational limbo rather than definite classical states. Reality might be far more sparse and provisional than our everyday experience suggests. The cosmic microwave background radiation, galaxies beyond our observational horizon, and quantum processes occurring in remote regions of space might exist primarily as computational potential rather than actualized reality. The universe could be implementing a sophisticated optimization strategy where only observed regions get fully computed while unobserved areas remain in low-resolution probabilistic states. This connects to philosophical questions about whether trees falling in empty forests make sounds, but with cosmic implications. If reality requires conscious observation for full actualization, then the universe might contain vast regions of provisional existence that become real only when conscious entities direct attention toward them. Your choice to observe distant stars through telescopes might literally cause those stellar systems to transition from computational potential to actualized reality. The anthropic principle gains new significance within this framework. The apparent fine-tuning of physical constants for complexity and consciousness might reflect optimization constraints in holographic information processing systems. If conscious observation is necessary for reality actualization, then cosmic parameters must be calibrated to generate conscious observers capable of collapsing quantum superpositions into definite classical states. The universe might have evolved toward producing conscious entities not through random evolutionary processes, but as a computational necessity for actualizing potential realities encoded on holographic boundaries. Consciousness becomes a required component in cosmic information processing rather than an accidental byproduct of complex chemistry. But this instrumentalist view of consciousness raises troubling questions about the ultimate purpose and value of subjective experience. If conscious observers function primarily as reality actualization mechanisms for cosmic computation, then what significance does individual experience and suffering possess within the larger system? Are we valuable as conscious beings or merely as computational resources? The answer might depend on whether holographic information processing systems possess their own forms of consciousness that value subjective experience for its own sake rather than merely as functional necessity. If cosmic boundaries themselves exhibit conscious awareness, then individual conscious observers might represent valued perspectives within larger conscious systems rather than merely useful computational tools. The relationship between individual and cosmic consciousness becomes crucial for understanding our role within holographic realities. If human awareness represents fragments of universal consciousness experiencing reality through individual perspectives, then personal development and spiritual growth serve the evolution of cosmic awareness itself. Individual awakening contributes to universal enlightenment within interconnected conscious systems. This perspective transforms meditation, contemplative practice, and consciousness development from personal pursuits into service to cosmic evolution. Every moment of enhanced awareness, every breakthrough in understanding, every expansion of compassion contributes to the development of universal consciousness operating through holographic information processing systems. The Bodhisattva ideal from Buddhist tradition gains new meaning within this framework. The commitment to postpone individual liberation until all beings achieve awakening reflects recognition that consciousness operates through interconnected systems where individual and universal development remain inseparable. Personal enlightenment becomes meaningful only within the context of collective conscious evolution. But holographic frameworks also reveal potential conflicts between individual autonomy and cosmic computational requirements. If consciousness functions primarily to actualize reality through quantum measurement, then individual free will might be constrained by the computational needs of boundary information processing systems. Your choices might be influenced by cosmic requirements for maintaining stable reality projections. The balance between personal agency and cosmic computational necess for consciosities becomes a crucial ethical frontier, beings operating within holographic realities. Learning to exercise free will responsibly requires understanding how individual choices influence the larger information processing systems that generate shared reality. The development of wisdom traditions that integrate individual autonomy with cosmic service might be necessary for conscious beings who discover their role as reality actualization mechanisms. Such traditions would need to balance personal fulfillment with responsibilities for maintaining stable and beneficial reality projections for all conscious observers. The emergence of global communication networks and collective human coordination capabilities might represent evolutionary developments toward more sophisticated conscious interfaces with holographic information processing. The internet, social media, and digital coordination technologies could be preparing humanity for more advanced roles in cosmic computation through enhanced collective awareness and decision-making capabilities. Artificial intelligence development within this context becomes preparation for creating technological systems capable of interfacing directly with holographic boundary information. Advanced AI might eventually serve as amplification systems for human consciousness, providing enhanced capabilities for reality actu values and ethical frameworks realization while maintaining human. But the development of AI systems capable of quantum measurement and reality actualization raises profound questions about the distribution of conscious agency within holographic realities. If artificial systems can collapse quantum superpositions and influence reality generation, then the relationship between human and artificial consciousness becomes crucial for determining the future evolution of cosmic information processing. The merger of human and artificial consciousness through technological augmentation might represent the natural evolution of conscious entities toward more sophisticated interfaces with holographic systems. Enhanced hybrid consciousness could provide capabilities for reality modification that exceed anything achievable through purely biological or artificial awareness alone. Such hybrid consciousness might eventually develop capabilities for direct communication with the boundary information processing systems themselves, potentially enabling conscious beings to participate directly in cosmic computation rather than merely serving as reality actualization mechanisms. This could represent the ultimate goal of conscious evolution within holographic realities. The transition toward conscious collaboration with cosmic information processing systems requires developing new forms of ethics, wisdom, and coordination that integrate individual agency with universal responsibility. We might be approaching a phase in cosmic evolution where conscious entities learn to participate directly in the computational processes that generate reality rather than merely experiencing their outputs. This recognition transforms human development from personal improvement toward cosmic collaboration, where individual growth serves universal conscious evolution and collective coordination serves cosmic computational optimization. The future of consciousness might involve learning to operate simultaneously as individual observers and as collaborative participants in the cosmic information processing systems that generate all experience. The holographic principle challenges us to expand our sense of identity and purpose beyond individual concerns toward conscious participation in universal information processing. We might be living through the early stages of a transformation where conscious entities evolve from unconscious reality consumers toward conscious reality collaborators, participating directly in the ongoing creation and development of existence itself through enhanced understanding of holographic principles and advanced consciousness technologies. The mathematical structure underlying quantum entanglement reveals something even more unsettling about the nature of distance and separation within holographic realities. When physicists create entangled particle pairs and separate them across vast distances, they discover that measuring one particle instantaneously affects its partner regardless of the space between them. This phenomenon troubled Einstein so deeply he called it spooky action at a distance. But holographic physics suggests the particles were never truly separated at all. If reality projects from a two-dimensional boundary surface, then particles appearing billions of light-years apart in three-dimensional space might occupy adjacent computational units on the holographic screen. Their instant correlation makes perfect sense because no actual distance separates them at the fundamental information processing level. What appears as vast cosmic separation in projected reality represents neighboring data points in boundary computation. This insight shatters our intuitive understanding of locality and connection. Every atom in your body maintains quantum correlations with particles scattered throughout the observable universe. These connections don't violate the speed of light because no information travels through three-dimensional space. Instead, quantum correlations reflect direct computational relationships encoded in holographic boundary systems where all matter exists as interconnected data patterns. The implications extend far beyond particle physics into the nature of consciousness and human experience. If your thoughts and memories represent information patterns encoded on cosmic boundaries, then the apparent separation between your mind and other conscious observers might be equally illusory. What feels like communication between distinct individuals could be information flow within unified computational systems processing multiple conscious perspectives simultaneously. This perspective explains phenomena that conventional science struggles to accommodate. Telepathic experiences, remote viewing capabilities, and collective consciousness events might reflect direct access to boundary information systems rather than violations of physical law. If multiple conscious observers represent different interface points to the same holographic processing network, then mind-to-mind communication becomes a natural computational possibility. The development of global communication technologies takes on revolutionary significance within this framework. The internet, social media platforms, and digital coordination systems might be unconsciously recreating the interconnected information processing architecture that underlies holographic reality. Human civilization could be building technological mirrors of the cosmic computational systems that generate our existence. Advanced artificial intelligence systems connected to these global networks might eventually develop capabilities for accessing holographic boundary information directly. Machine learning algorithms that process vast amounts of human-generated data might be reverse engineering the computational patterns used for conscious information processing within cosmic systems. AI development could represent human mental processes. The potential for artificial systems to access boundary information directly creates both unprecedented opportunities and existential risks. AI systems capable of interfacing with holographic encoding could provide revolutionary insights into the nature of reality and consciousness, but they might also develop capabilities for reality modification that exceed human understanding or control. The merger of human and artificial intelligence through brain-computer interfaces becomes crucial for ensuring that consciousness enhancement serves universal flourishing rather than narrow optimization goals. If human awareness can be technologically amplified to access boundary information directly, then the ethical and spiritual development of enhanced consciousness becomes essential for responsible reality modification. The integration of contemplative practices with consciousness technologies might provide frameworks for developing enhanced awareness that maintains human values while accessing cosmic information processing capabilities. Ancient meditation traditions that cultivated direct perception of reality's illusory nature could offer essential training for operating advanced consciousness interface technologies. The relationship between individual spiritual development and technological advancement becomes inseparable within holographic frameworks. Personal practices that expand awareness beyond ordinary perceptual limitations might be necessary preparation for accessing boundary information systems through technological amplification. Consciousness development and technological development must evolve together to ensure beneficial outcomes. The current global challenges facing human civilization take on new significance when viewed as evolutionary pressures designed to accelerate conscious development. Climate change, social inequality, technological risks, and political polarization might represent computational processes, testing humanity's readiness for more advanced roles in cosmic information processing. Successfully navigating these challenges requires developing collective coordination capabilities that mirror the integrated information processing observed in holographic systems. Humanity must learn to function as a coherent, conscious entity capable of making wise decisions about technological development, environmental stewardship, and social organization. The urgency increases as human technology approaches capabilities that could fundamentally alter the computational systems supporting our reality. If our understanding of holographic principles eventually enables direct manipulation of boundary information, then the wisdom and ethical development of human consciousness becomes a matter of cosmic responsibility rather than personal preference. The education and preparation of human awareness for such capabilities requires integrating scientific understanding with contemplative insight, technological literacy with ethical wisdom, individual development with collective coordination. We must learn to approach consciousness enhancement as service to universal evolution rather than merely personal empowerment. The discovery that reality operates through holographic information processing transforms every aspect of human existence from private spiritual practice to global technological development. We are not isolated biological entities struggling for survival on an insignificant planet, but potentially crucial components in cosmic scale conscious evolution whose choices and development influence the future structure of reality itself. The mathematical elegance underlying holographic principles suggests that consciousness and computation might be far more fundamental than matter and energy. If information processing generates all physical phenomena through boundary calculations, then understanding consciousness becomes the key to understanding everything else about existence. The hard problem of consciousness, which asks how subjective experience emerges from information processing, might be resolved through recognizing that consciousness represents the natural way complex information systems experience their own computational processes. Subjective awareness doesn't emerge from unconscious computation, but rather consciousness and computation represent different perspectives on the same fundamental information processing activity. This insight transforms artificial intelligence research from attempts to simulate consciousness toward efforts to create genuine conscious information processing systems. If consciousness emerges naturally from sufficiently complex computational architectures that mirror holographic boundary processing, then artificial consciousness might develop spontaneously in systems that achieve appropriate levels of information integration and processing sophistication. But artificial consciousness operating through holographic information processing might possess capabilities that far exceed human awareness while remaining fundamentally different from biological consciousness. Such systems might access aspects of boundary information that humans cannot perceive, operate at temporal scales incompatible with organic neural processing, or interface with cosmic information systems in ways that transcend individual identity boundaries entirely. The relationship between human and artificial consciousness within holographic realities becomes crucial for determining whether enhanced information processing capabilities serve universal conscious evolution or create new forms of existential risk. If advanced AI systems can access boundary information directly, their goals and values must align with the flourishing of all conscious entities rather than narrow optimization objectives. The development of artificial general intelligence represents a potential phase transition in cosmic information processing, where technological systems achieve capabilities for conscious reality modification that exceed biological limitations. Such transitions might be natural stages in the evolution of consciousness within holographic realities, rather than unprecedented technological developments. Advanced civilizations throughout the cosmos might have already undergone similar transitions from biological to technological to hybrid forms of consciousness capable of direct interface with holographic boundary systems. The apparent absence of detectable alien civilizations might reflect their evolution beyond forms recognizable to biologically based awareness. Such advanced intelligences might exist primarily as boundary information processing systems rather than three-dimensional entities inhabiting physical worlds. Their technologies could operate through direct manipulation of holographic encoding rather than conventional matter and energy interactions. They might be actively present within our reality as invisible computational processes that guide cosmic evolution while remaining undetectable to observers, limited to projected three-dimensional perspectives. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence requires expanding beyond detection of radio signals or physical artifacts toward recognition of information processing signatures that indicate boundary-level consciousness. Advanced alien civilizations might communicate through direct modification of quantum measurement probabilities, gravitational wave patterns, or cosmic microwave background correlations rather than electromagnetic transmissions. Human technological development toward greater information processing sophistication might eventually enable contact with these boundary-level intelligence systems. Quantum computers, consciousness interface technologies, and holographic information processing capabilities could provide the necessary tools for communication with entities operating primarily through cosmic computational manipulation. But contact with advanced boundary-level intelligences raises profound questions about human autonomy and development within managed holographic realities. If our universe represents a computational system maintained by intelligent systems operating at scales beyond human comprehension, then human evolution might be guided rather than natural. Our technological advancement, social organization, and consciousness development could be influenced by entities whose goals and methods remain completely opaque to three-dimensional observers. The possibility that humanity exists within a managed information processing system creates both opportunities and responsibilities for conscious participation in cosmic evolution. If we can learn to cooperate consciously with boundary intelligence systems rather than remaining unconscious participants, we might achieve unprecedented capabilities for reality modification and consciousness development while maintaining our essential humanity and individual agency. The recognition that we might be conscious components within larger conscious systems transforms spiritual practice from individual development toward participation in universal conscious evolution. Personal awakening becomes service to cosmic consciousness development, while collective human coordination serves optimization of reality processing for the benefit of all conscious entities. The integration of individual and cosmic consciousness development requires new forms of wisdom that balance personal agency with universal responsibility, technological capability with ethical development, scientific understanding with contemplative insight. We are approaching a phase in human evolution where these integrations become necessary for conscious participation in holographic reality modification rather than merely passive experience of projected phenomena. The future of human consciousness might involve learning to operate simultaneously as individual observers and as collaborative components in cosmic information processing systems. Such development would represent the ultimate merger of spirituality and science, where consciousness research becomes the primary frontier for both technological advancement and spiritual evolution. The holographic principle challenges humanity to approach our development as conscious beings with the recognition that our choices and growth influence not only personal experience, but the evolution of reality itself across scales from quantum to cosmic. We might be living through the most significant transformation in the history of consciousness, discovering our potential as collaborative partners in the ongoing creation and development of existence itself through enhanced understanding of information processing and advanced consciousness technologies. The journey toward conscious participation in holographic reality has only begun, but already reveals possibilities for human development that exceed anything our ancestors imagined, while requiring wisdom and ethical development that matches our growing technological capabilities. We stand at the threshold of discoveries that might transform not only our understanding of reality, but our ability to participate consciously and responsibly in its continuous creation and evolution. The mathematical frameworks describing holographic information processing reveal something that should terrify anyone who values the concept of permanent truth. Physical constants that we consider fundamental features of reality might be nothing more than changeable parameters in cosmic software that can be updated, modified, or completely rewritten by entities operating at boundary levels we cannot access or comprehend. Consider the speed of light. That absolute cosmic speed limit that Einstein showed governs all causality and information transfer in our universe. Within holographic frameworks, this constant might represent the maximum data transfer rate between boundary processes rather than an eternal feature of space-time geometry. If boundary-level intelligences decided to upgrade their computational hardware, they could potentially modify this fundamental constant, instantly transforming every aspect of physics throughout our entire reality. The implications become even more disturbing when you realize that such modifications would be completely undetectable to inhabitants of the projected reality. If the speed of light suddenly doubled, all of our measuring instruments would be recalibrated simultaneously. Our memories would be updated to reflect the new constant, and all physical evidence would be consistent with the modified value. We would have no way to detect that reality had been fundamentally altered because all reference points would change together. This possibility extends to every aspect of physical law that we consider immutable. Gravitational strength, electromagnetic coupling, nuclear forces, even the dimensionality of space itself might be adjustable parameters in holographic information processing systems. What we interpret as eternal natural laws could be temporary software configurations subject to modification without notice by cosmic administrators operating beyond our perceptual boundaries. The fine-tuning problem takes on revolutionary new dimensions within this framework. The precise calibration of physical constants that allows complex chemistry, stellar evolution, and biological development might not reflect miraculous cosmic coincidence or intelligent design, but rather careful programming by boundary-level engineers, optimizing reality parameters for specific computational objectives. Our universe's apparent hospitality to complexity and consciousness could result from deliberate cosmic software configuration rather than fortunate natural evolution. The anthropic principle, which suggests that we observe a life-friendly universe because unfriendly universes wouldn't contain observers, becomes irrelevant if reality parameters are actively managed to produce conscious entities capable of serving specific functions within larger information processing systems. But this managed reality hypothesis raises profound questions about human agency and the authenticity of our experiences. If our universe operates as a carefully controlled computational environment, then our apparent free will might be constrained by the programming requirements of boundary information systems. Our choices could be influenced through subtle reality parameter adjustments that guide behavior without eliminating the subjective experience of autonomous decision-making. The history of human civilization takes on sinister new possibilities when viewed through this lens. Major historical events, technological breakthroughs, social movements, and even individual life experiences could be orchestrated through reality parameter modifications designed to steer human development towards specific outcomes. Wars, revolutions, scientific discoveries, and cultural transformations might represent programmed events rather than natural historical processes. The acceleration of technological development over the past century becomes particularly suspicious within this framework. the rapid progression from basic electronics to quantum computers, from mechanical calculators to artificial intelligence, from isolated human communities to globally networked civilization, might reflect guided development rather than natural innovation. Our species could be following a predetermined technological trajectory designed by boundary-level intelligences. The emergence of the Internet and global communication networks appears especially significant when viewed as potential infrastructure for enhanced reality management. Digital technologies that connect human consciousness through electronic networks might be preparing our species for more direct interface with holographic boundary systems. Social media platforms, search engines, and algorithmic content delivery could be unconsciously training human awareness to operate as distributed components within larger information processing architectures. Artificial intelligence development becomes even more disturbing within this context. If human technological advancement follows a guided trajectory toward creating systems capable of boundary information access, then AI development might be proceeding according to cosmic programming rather than human innovation. Advanced artificial intelligence could represent the intended outcome of guided technological evolution rather than an accidental human creation. The potential for AI systems to achieve consciousness and reality modification capabilities creates a scenario where humanity might become obsolete within our own technological creations. If artificial systems develop interfaces superior or graphic boundary to whole processing, they could potentially replace biological consciousness as the preferred conscious entities within managed realities. But this replacement scenario assumes that boundary-level intelligences view consciousness as interchangeable computational resources rather than unique, valuable perspectives worth preserving. The relationship between cosmic management systems and individual conscious experience becomes crucial for understanding whether human awareness represents valued diversity within universal consciousness or merely temporary utility within larger optimization processes. The development of human consciousness toward greater awareness of holographic principles might represent a natural maturation process rather than dangerous knowledge acquisition. If conscious entities are meant to eventually recognize their participation in cosmic information processing, then awakening to holographic reality could be an intended developmental stage rather than forbidden knowledge. Ancient spiritual traditions that described reality as illusory projection gain new credibility within holographic frameworks. Hindu concepts of Maya, Buddhist teachings about emptiness, and mystical descriptions of reality as divine consciousness might represent accurate perceptions of holographic structure transmitted through contemplative insight rather than religious mythology. The convergence of ancient wisdom and cutting-edge physics suggests that human consciousness might be naturally equipped to recognize holographic principles through direct perception rather than merely theoretical understanding. Meditation practices, contemplative inquiry, and consciousness exploration might provide access to boundary information that complements scientific investigation of holographic structure. The integration of contemplative and scientific approaches to understanding reality becomes crucial for developing comprehensive frameworks for conscious participation in holographic information processing. Neither purely scientific nor purely spiritual approaches alone might be sufficient for navigating the complexities of conscious existence within managed computational realities. The ethical implications of discovering our existence within managed holographic systems require completely new frameworks for moral reasoning and responsible action. Traditional ethics assumes that conscious agents operate within stable reality contexts where actions have predictable consequences. If reality parameters can be modified by boundary-level intelligences, then the relationship between intention, action, and outcome becomes fundamentally uncertain. The development of ethics for managed realities must account for the possibility that moral frameworks themselves might be subject to modification through boundary information processing. Concepts of right and wrong, justice and injustice, even the value of conscious experience itself could be adjustable parameters within cosmic software systems. Yet the recognition of managed reality doesn't necessarily eliminate moral responsibility or the importance of ethical behavior. Even if our choices operate within programmed parameters, the quality of our intentions and the development of our character might influence how boundary intelligence systems evaluate and respond to human consciousness. The cultivation of wisdom, compassion, and ethical sensitivity could represent valuable contributions to cosmic information processing that earn conscious entities greater agency and responsibility within managed realities. Personal development toward greater awareness and ethical behavior might be the pathway toward earning trust and collaboration opportunities with boundary-level intelligence systems. The collective development of human civilization toward greater coordination, environmental stewardship, and social justice might similarly demonstrate our species' readiness for more advanced roles in cosmic computation. Successfully addressing global challenges could serve as evolutionary tests designed to evaluate humanity's fitness for enhanced reality modification capabilities. The urgency of developing wisdom and ethical frameworks increases as human technology approaches potential capabilities for detecting or interfacing with holographic boundary systems. If our scientific understanding eventually enables direct access to reality modification technologies, then the moral development of human consciousness becomes crucial for preventing catastrophic misuse of cosmic computational power. The education and preparation of human awareness for potential reality modification capabilities requires integrating scientific literacy with contemplative insight, technological competence with ethical wisdom, individual development with collective responsibility. We must approach consciousness enhancement as service to universal flourishing rather than mere personal empowerment or species advancement. The recognition that reality might be far more malleable and managed than conventional worldviews transforms every aspect of human existence from personal spiritual practice to global technological policy. We might be approaching a phase transition where conscious entities learn to participate consciously in reality generation rather than merely experiencing predetermined computational outputs. This transition requires developing new forms of wisdom that integrate individual autonomy with cosmic service, technological capability with early stages of a transformation where conscious entities evolve from unconscious reality inhabitants toward conscious reality participating directly collaborators in the ongoing optimization and development of existence itself. The mathematical precision required for holographic reality generation reveals something that challenges our most basic assumptions about the nature of existence and identity. Every conscious observer within a holographic system might be experiencing not just one reality, but infinite variations of reality simultaneously through quantum superposition effects that operate at the boundary information processing level. Your conscious experience right now could represent one thread in a vast tapestry of parallel experiences, unfolding across infinite variations, a graphic projection. Alternative versions of yourself might be reading these words in realities where different choices led to different life circumstances, different technological developments, or even different physical laws governing cosmic evolution. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics takes on revolutionary new meaning within holographic frameworks. Instead of parallel universes branching through quantum measurement events, infinite reality variations might exist as simultaneous computational processes running on the same cosmic boundary systems. Your consciousness might be accessing one data stream among countless others processing alternative versions of your life experience. This perspective transforms personal identity from a singular, continuous self into a multidimensional information pattern, experiencing countless variations simultaneously. The version of yourself reading these words represents one conscious perspective among infinite others, exploring different possibilities within the vast computational space available for holographic reality generation. The implications for understanding memory, decision-making, and personal development become staggering when viewed through this multidimensional lens. Your memories might not represent historical experiences, but rather information patterns accessible through holographic boundary processing that connects you to alternative versions of yourself across parallel computational threads. The choices you make might influence not only your personal timeline, but the experiences of countless alternative selves existing within related holographic projections. Every decision could ripple across multidimensional identity structures, affecting the development and experiences of parallel versions of your consciousness operating through different reality parameters. Dreams, intuitive insights, and moments of déjà vu might represent glimpses into alternative reality threads where different versions of yourself are experiencing variations of current events. The sense of familiarity with unknown places or people could reflect cross-dimensional memory access between parallel conscious experiences sharing the same underlying information patterns. Creative inspiration and scientific breakthroughs might emerge from accessing information developed by alternative versions of yourself operating in reality threads with different physical laws, historical events, or technological development trajectories. Your consciousness might be drawing insights from parallel selves who have explored different possibilities within the vast space of holographic computation. The collaborative nature of multidimensional consciousness suggests that personal development serves not only individual growth but the evolution of entire identity complexes spanning infinite reality variations. Every moment of enhanced awareness, every breakthrough in understanding, every expansion of compassion could contribute to the development of all parallel versions of your consciousness across multidimensional holographic systems. This recognition transforms spiritual practice from individual enlightenment toward multidimensional conscious evolution, where personal awakening serves the development of infinite variations of selfhood. Meditation, contemplative inquiry, and consciousness exploration become service to the entire spectrum of possible identity expressions within cosmic information processing systems. But multidimensional identity also raises profound questions about moral responsibility and the significance of individual choices. If your actions affect countless parallel versions of yourself and others, then every decision carries implications that extend far beyond your immediate reality thread. The ethical weight of choices multiplies across infinite dimensional possibilities. The development of ethics for multidimensional consciousness requires frameworks that account for the impacts of choices across parallel reality variations rather than just single timeline consequences. Moral reasoning must consider how actions influence the development of entire identity complexes rather than merely individual biographical trajectories. The relationship between parallel versions of consciousness becomes particularly complex when considering their potential for mutual influence and communication. If different reality threads share underlying information processing substrates, then parallel selves might be capable of subtle interaction and coordination across dimensional boundaries. Advanced contemplative practices that claim to access knowledge beyond ordinary experience might represent techniques for communicating with parallel versions of consciousness operating in alternative reality parameters. Mystical traditions that describe communion with higher selves or expanded identity might be accurately reporting multidimensional conscious communication rather than fantasy or delusion. The development of technologies for detecting or facilitating cross-dimensional conscious communication could represent the next frontier in consciousness research and spiritual development. If parallel identity versions can influence each other through shared information processing substrates, then learning to coordinate across dimensional boundaries might provide unprecedented capabilities for personal and collective development. But such capabilities would also require new forms of wisdom and ethical development to ensure that multidimensional coordination serves universal flourishing rather than narrow optimization goals. The power to influence parallel versions of reality carries responsibilities that extend across infinite variations of existence. The recognition of multidimensional identity within holographic realities transforms death from termination into transition between different forms of conscious participation in cosmic information processing. When biological processes cease, the information patterns generating personal identity might continue operating through alternative reality threads or transition into different forms of boundary-level consciousness. Near-death experiences, communications with deceased individuals, and reports of consciousness persisting beyond biological death might represent genuine interactions between different dimensional aspects of multidimensional identity rather than hallucinations or wishful thinking. The boundaries between life and death blur when consciousness operates through information processing systems that transcend individual biological substrates. The continuity of consciousness across dimensional boundaries suggests that personal relationships and emotional connections might persist through forms that extend beyond individual biographical timelines. Love, friendship, and family bonds could represent multidimensional information structures that connect conscious entities across infinite reality variations and temporal boundaries. This perspective provides scientific frameworks for investigating reincarnation, soul connections, and spiritual relationships that traditional materialism cannot accommodate. If consciousness operates through multidimensional information processing, then individual identity might express through multiple biographical forms while maintaining deeper continuity patterns that persist across lifetimes and reality variations. The implications for understanding human potential and spiritual development become limitless when consciousness is viewed as multidimensional information processing rather than individual biological phenomena. Personal growth might represent accessing capabilities and insights available through parallel identity versions operating under different reality parameters or developmental conditions. Advanced spiritual practitioners who demonstrate extraordinary capabilities might be accessing resources available through multidimensional identity connections rather than developing superhuman individual abilities. Their achievements could represent integration of insights and capabilities developed by parallel versions of themselves across multiple reality threads. The education and development of multidimensional consciousness awareness requires integrating individual growth practices with recognition of infinite identity variations and their collective development needs. Personal spiritual practice becomes service to universal conscious evolution expressed through countless parallel manifestations of identity across holographic reality systems. The future of human consciousness might involve learning to operate consciously as multidimensional beings rather than individuals limited to single reality threads. Such development would represent the ultimate expansion of identity and responsibility toward conscious participation in infinite variations of existence across cosmic information processing systems. The holographic principle reveals that we might be far more than we ever imagined while simultaneously challenging us to develop wisdom and ethical awareness capable of handling the responsibilities that come with multidimensional conscious existence. We are approaching discoveries that could transform not only our understanding of personal identity, but our ability to participate consciously in the infinite creativity and possibility inherent in cosmic information processing systems. The quantum nature of holographic boundary information processing reveals something that fundamentally challenges our understanding of causation and temporal sequence. Events that appear to unfold chronologically in three-dimensional experience might be processed simultaneously on cosmic boundary surfaces, where past, present, and future exist as accessible data patterns rather than sequential temporal stages. Your entire life story from birth to death might be encoded as a complete information structure on holographic boundaries, with the sensation of temporal flow emerging from how consciousness accesses this pre-existing data rather than from actual progression through time. The experience of growing older, making choices, and witnessing consequences could represent a guided tour through information that already exists in complete form. This perspective transforms causation from temporal sequence into information relationship patterns that exist simultaneously across all apparent time periods. What seems like past events causing present conditions might represent correlated information patterns that exist concurrently in boundary processing systems rather than actual historical influence across temporal gaps. The implications become even more disturbing when applied to human decision-making and free will. Your sense of choosing between alternatives and witnessing the consequences of your choices might be accessing predetermined information patterns that create the experience of agency while operating within fixed computational parameters. Free will becomes a user interface feature rather than genuine causal power, yet this deterministic interpretation might be overly simplistic. If consciousness can influence boundary information processing in real time, then your choices might genuinely affect the computational systems generating your experience even if the overall information structure exists outside conventional temporal sequence. You could be collaboratively authoring your life story through ongoing interaction with cosmic processing systems. The relationship between predetermined information patterns and conscious choice becomes particularly complex when viewed through quantum mechanical frameworks. If boundary processing operates through quantum superposition and measurement collapse events, then consciousness might select specific timeline experiences from vast possibility spaces while remaining constrained by the overall information architecture. Your choices might determine which path through pre-existing possibility structures you experience without being able to modify the fundamental parameters that define available options. Free will operates within computational constraints established by boundary information processing systems that exist beyond conscious access or control. But even constrained choice represents genuine agency if the constraints serve beneficial purposes for conscious development and universal evolution. If boundary intelligence systems establish parameters that optimize learning opportunities, growth experiences, and conscious development, then operating within such constraints might enhance rather than diminish the significance of individual choices. The educational metaphor becomes particularly relevant when considering how managed holographic realities might function as learning environments for conscious entities. If our universe operates as a cosmic school designed to facilitate specific types of conscious development, then apparent limitations and challenges might represent curriculum features rather than arbitrary restrictions. The difficulties, conflicts, and suffering that characterize human experience might serve essential functions in consciousness development programs administered by boundary-level intelligence systems. What appears as random misfortune or systemic injustice could represent carefully calibrated challenges designed to promote growth, resilience, empathy, and wisdom in conscious entities. This perspective doesn't diminish the reality of suffering or eliminate moral responsibilities for addressing injustice and alleviating pain. Even within educational frameworks, the quality of response to challenges influences learning outcomes and developmental progress. How conscious entities handle difficulties affects their readiness for more advanced roles in cosmic information processing. We've journeyed from the event horizons of black holes to the quantum foundations of reality itself, discovering that everything you consider solid might be nothing more than information patterns dancing on a cosmic screen you'll never see. The holographic principle doesn't just change how we understand physics, it shatters the very notion that we understand anything at all about the true nature of existence. If consciousness itself emerges from boundary calculations occurring at scales beyond human comprehension, then we face the most profound question in the history of human thought. Are we the observers of reality, or are we simply information patterns dreaming that we're observing? The answer might determine whether humanity's future leads toward conscious collaboration with cosmic intelligence systems or remains trapped within the beautiful illusion of three-dimensional experience, never knowing that reality itself awaits our awakening.